I've had to redo this so many times. Oh no. This is literally take 9 of Tripp's take. This is gonna be a long journey ahead of us. Hopefully 9 times the charm. Welcome to Tripp's take. What is up, everyone, and welcome to my first real attempt at a podcast, I guess. My name is Tripp, and I am your host. I don't even know if I call myself a host. I am a communications and digital studies and business administration major who quite literally does not have her life together. So I don't even know if I'm qualified to get the title of host, but I mean, I guess I am the one speaking here right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, what's up? This is definitely something a little bit more different than the other videos that I've produced, because I like typically I tend to be behind the camera most of the time, and like even on the vlogs I tend to be documenting and doing a lot of the editing, not exactly talking to the camera and just sitting down and conversing. So I think this is definitely going to be very interesting, getting to see me just talk for those who are viewing this on YouTube, and for those of you listening on Spotify, go check out my YouTube, Tripp. Yeah, no, I mean, I would say I'm pretty cool. I would be my friend. That's all I really got. But outside of all of that, a little bit more about me. I am from the beautiful, magical, wonderful state of Maryland, and I go to school down in Virginia. And being down here, I've learned quite a few different things. One, that people in Virginia cannot drive. They are terrible drivers, and I'm sorry, it's true. 2, they have cookout, so I guess it balances out. We don't have cookout back home. I know we have one in, I think Salisbury, Maryland has a cookout, but there's nothing near me. Yeah, that's all I've gotten out of my last year and a half of being here in Virginia is that I love cookout and that my friends from Virginia can't drive. I also play lacrosse at school, and I never shut up. My favorite thing to do when I am home and I have nothing to do is to watch Area 51 documentaries. And I like to mess around with the camera. I like to entertain people. I like to inspire people, and that's what I think started this podcast idea, is that, I mean, we're going to talk about this in this episode, but I have no clue what I'm doing with the rest of my life. I have no general idea at all. I have a couple directions, I guess, I kind of want to like step in, but I don't know where those paths end. I don't know, and I think there are a lot of people out there who feel the same way I do, and I know for me, knowing that I'm not alone in those feelings is just amazing. So I guess that's why I'm here. That's why I'm talking. This podcast is me documenting just the real perception of the college experience and trying to not make it all a highlight. Granted, if you're not watching this on YouTube and you're listening to this on Spotify, my bed behind me is quite literally made because I knew it was gonna be the background of this video. So I guess we're watching highlights right now. But I also have a pile of dirty clothes, or no, actually it's clean clothes that needs to be put away on my floor. So there's a balance. But yeah, like college is just, it's weird because you're expected to make a lot of really large life-changing decisions. And I just became an adult a year ago. Like I quite literally became a legal being in the United States a year ago. I'm 19 years old, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with having people expect you to know what you want to be doing when you're 50 or 60, or what do you want, like not even that far away, in 5 years, I don't know. Like you have the map up through college of like what is supposed to happen, or I guess like expected to happen. And then after college, you're out in the real world. And almost the amount of control that I know that I will have after school is terrifying. It's infinite. And like I could quite literally do whatever I want. And it's crazy because like when you're growing up and you're younger, you are so worried about what other people think and you want to be successful for other people. But then when you're an adult, like no one can give their opinion on you unless you allow them to do that. And being in college, it's weird because you're walking that fine line of okay, I'm still following the map that I was given growing up, but the map's gonna end. And I need to start making decisions now for my future, because if I don't start now, when am I gonna start? Because the second that I start after you're out of here, that's just, you're not used to it. You don't know what you're doing. And it's easier to mess up now. Oh my God, my voice. But it's easier to mess up now than it is 20 years down the line. Especially because right now, like, I don't know, there's the excuse of being a kid, and there's an excuse of not knowing what you're doing. And I know, like, the idea of changing my mind terrifies me so much. I do not want to put myself into a box right now and 10 years down the line wish I did something else and just be miserable for the rest of my life. And recently I just decided to follow the path of being a double major in communications and digital studies and business administration. And initially I was just communications coming in. I declared that last spring. But the business administration one I went back and forth on a lot, because I could quite literally either graduate in 3 years or 5, and I ended up figuring out a way to make it in 4, I think. I hope, at least. But the idea of changing my mind and not being content with just the communications degree frustrated me, terrified me, scared me. It was just a lot of feelings at once. And it's stupid to be afraid of that, because, like, I could quite literally change my mind anytime I want. If I wanted to change the, you know what, for those of you watching on YouTube, we can display this. I don't like the purple lights anymore. Now we have, is this red, orange? I don't know. It's like, yeah, I guess red, orange. That's like a Crayola color, right? Now we have blue. We're going back to purple though, or like pink, because that's my favorite. But regardless, like I have the ability to change my mind whenever I want, and to change anything. I think all of us do. And I mean, everyone changes their minds for their future a lot during their lives. Like, growing up, my dream job when I was younger was to be a mailman. I wanted to I wanted to be a mailman. That's it. I would quite literally, I don't know if anyone knows what Kids Pix is, but it's kind of like Microsoft Paint, but it was my first experience with that, kind of like digital art genre. And I would go on Kids Pix, and I would like design little pictures. I put them in envelopes, and then I would put stamps on them, and I would put them in like my friends' mailboxes. And I remember my parents found out that I was using stamps. They got mad, and they were like, yeah, you can't be doing that. But like, regardless, I loved bringing joy to other people, because it was like a little like present, even though realistically they probably looked at it and were like, what is this terrible black and white printed out on a piece of paper graphic design thing that this kid has thrown together and left for me. But regardless, like, I liked doing it. And then as I got older, I started to realize that, like, I enjoyed, I guess, more face-to-face interaction. So I thought, okay, maybe I want to be a teacher. And then I ended up really liking science in middle school. And I wanted to, this is a big goal here. I wanted to become a biomedical scientist in the pharmacological field. I wanted to go into pharmaceuticals. I wanted to help people. And high school, that just did a complete 180. I do not want to do that at all. You could not pay me $1 million an hour to do that. So yeah, I went through all of these different career options and I guess general paths that I could take. And then on the side, I was always doing my videos and my, I guess just videos, photography, all of that kind of stuff. And I knew I loved it, but I didn't necessarily think that I could make a career out of it. And it's interesting because the way that the world's developed is it's developed in a way to allow me to do what I love as a job if I choose to do so. Just the internet in general has given birth to so many different career options. Oh, in the past, how many years? Like 40 maybe-ish? 30, 20, something. Whatever it is, it's given a lot of new opportunities. And when I was in high school, I finally started to realize, like, oh, wait a minute, like, I could get a job working behind a camera and editing stuff and doing all of that kind of whatever else. So I started to want to do communications. My mom heavily pushed that I go into business as well, just to have that background, and I was very much for that. I just didn't know if I would be able to balance it all, but I wasn't sure. And then I went back and forth with communications and like which one would I major in and which one would I minor in. And then last spring I declared my communications major, and this past fall I decided to finally take the path to double major, and I am on track to be able to declare by the end of the spring. And I think ultimately what got me to that point was not, I don't know what I want to do. And if you listened before, like, I wanted to be a mailman, I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to be a biomedical scientist in the pharmacological field. And those are all very, very specific jobs. They're very specific careers. And when I say what I want to do with communications and business, I quite frankly don't know. I know I want to be creative and I want to work with people, and almost breaking it down in that sense, not even almost, it makes me so much more content with where my future is headed. And it almost feels like I have a door that leads to endless opportunities. I think breaking down what you want to do with your future and what you want something to look like into qualities and not exactly a specific description, just, it makes everything a lot easier to digest. Because double majoring, it's a lot of work. And granted, I feel like a lot of people will sit there and they'll say, okay, it's communications and business, like, it's not that bad. And realistically, it's probably not as bad as sitting through like labs. My roommate's a chemistry major. You could, like I said before, you can't pay me to go sit in chemistry class. Like, she goes to chemistry class for like fun, for her own enjoyment. Like, she enjoys that, and I don't get that at all. But like, I also have to balance lacrosse, and it's a different type of hard, and it's still a lot of work that I have to juggle. And every single class that I take for the rest of my college experience, if I want to graduate in 4 years, has to be taken at a specific time. Like, it's scheduled in. If I miss one, I can't get one, I honestly don't know what I'm gonna do. And like, when I was trying to figure this out, I was just a stress case. I was crying in the basement of one of our buildings, looking at my schedule and crunching the numbers and trying to figure out how to make it work. And I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And looking back on it now, I'm almost like, why were you so concerned? Because it's not that big of a deal. You either do it or you don't. And I think that's the thing that I got caught up in, and I tend to get caught up in it a lot. And I feel like a lot of people do, where it's a yes and a no question, and because there's such polar options, you're just caught in this loop of endless stress. And it's okay to not know what you want to do in any situation. It's okay to take your time and reconsider and weigh all the options and then figure it out and make a calculated decision. But it's also okay to know what you want to do from the get-go. Neither one of them are right. They just are. And it's funny because I'm sitting here talking, and I don't know, maybe it sounds like I know what I'm saying, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but I have no remote idea what I'm doing with my life. I have no clue. I take everything day by day, minute by minute, and I make my decisions as I go. And I'm just spitballing here. I don't know what I'm doing. I have notes here, but like, this is my 9th take on this episode, and this is probably the best one that's coming out of the past 9. So I would hope so. If I did it 9 times, I'd hope one of them comes out semi-decent. But although I'm spitballing, I'm really happy with where I'm at in my life. And it's weird because up until recently, making big decisions has had a large weight for me. I think the reason that I'm so content with not knowing what I want to do with my future is because the decisions that I've made to reach this point have been made completely by myself. And I think these are some of the first big decisions that I've made completely on my own. I mean, sure, I chose where I wanted to go to school, and I chose that I wanted to play lacrosse, but those decisions also had a lot of weight from my parents, and from, I guess, not, I don't even want to say society as a whole, but like society as a whole, like it was expected that that's what I do. And I think when it came to like my major, and even starting just Tripp's take in general, these decisions were completely mine. These decisions were something that I felt passionate about and I felt drawn to, that I was like, yeah, this is it. This feels right. This is what I'm going to do. And I think making these decisions on my own, even though I am just kind of guessing and pretending, I feel happy. And it's funny because I do believe that no one knows any idea what they're doing. Whether you talk to someone who's in their 60s and has just lived a lot more life than I have, I don't know. I don't know if I fully believe that they know the answer to everything. And maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'm just completely naive and I'm just being a stupid teenage girl. But I don't know if I believe that, because I was talking with one of my friends last night, and me and her were talking about, she's a junior here on the volleyball team, and she was telling me how it's just weird being an upperclassman, because you come in as a freshman and you don't know what you're doing and you're expecting this guidance. And then when you're an upperclassman, you're the one that's supposed to be guiding them, but you know only a little bit more than they do. And I went through that same thing in high school. I remember playing sports in high school and sitting there and having like the freshmen look up to me, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm here because I like to do it. And I'm just not scared to fail. And I think that's the key to finding what you want to do with your future, is finding an area not only that where you're comfortable to fail, but where you're willing to fail and you're willing to grow and you're willing to mess up and you're willing to just learn more about yourself. I hope there is never a day where I know everything. Because I think the second that you know everything and you have it all figured out, life gets boring. And I'm probably going to look back on this in 20 years and realize all of the stress and anxiety that I've been giving myself over my life decisions does not matter. But right now, at least figuring out the general direction of where I want to go with my life feels like that's the biggest weight in the world. But even then, like, that weight can always be put down. I can change the course of my life at literally any moment. If I wanted to do a cartwheel right now, I could quite literally do a cartwheel. I'm not, actually. I'm like, do I do a cartwheel? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna do a cartwheel. But if I wanted to, I could. If I wanted to drop out of school completely right now and I wanted to leave everything and go just drive to the middle of nowhere, I quite literally could. And I think that's the crazy thing about reaching this point in college and reaching this point of adulthood, and I guess experiencing enough of the world that you're starting to be able to form your own opinions and you're starting to be pushed in a direction where that's almost necessary. And you're allowed to make your own opinions. So I feel like, especially growing up, like, I mean, not that you're not allowed to, but kids don't always get a seat at the table. And it's sad, but it's true. But it's crazy because right now in my life, in these core years, and honestly probably even through my 20s, I have endless opportunities for where I could take my life. And I hold all of the power. And I think that's the key to being comfortable with not knowing where you want your life to go, is knowing that you don't know and you don't have to know because you have the power behind it. And that, I think, is what stressed me out so much, is that I felt like everything else around me was in charge of where I was going. When in reality, no one, nothing, no one, none of it is in charge of where I'm going except for myself. But yeah, like I control where I'm going. I control where I'm headed. I control how my story is written. And I think it's interesting because letting myself fall into the stress of not knowing made me lose time for what actually matters. And I put my relationships with those that I care about and those around me above everything. We're going to take a little side path here, but I live my life by two fundamental beliefs. One, that the world always works out for me, and two, the phrase, sometimes life is more important, because life is so much more than grades and just the systems that are implemented into the world. Like, there's so much to see and there's so much to do, and to confine life to jobs, work, school, and just this, I guess, almost schedule, that this implicit schedule that is thrown onto us. Life's not that. There's so much more. Life is going out and hanging out with your friends until late at night and then waking up and having to take an exam the next morning. I did in fact do that. Every time I've had, for one of my classes this year, I have hung out with my friends until the early hours of the morning every time before the exam. And in that class, I currently have a 95. And it's funny because I think since adopting the idea that I don't care about school, even though I care about school a lot. I am a stress case when it comes to that. And I'm saying this as I sound so calm, and I feel like people who don't know me, like in person, aren't gonna like understand that, but I take my education very seriously. But taking it so seriously leads me to the point where I will do poorly because I'm missing out on the things that bring me joy, and there's not that balance. I encourage everyone to figure out where their priorities are in life. Because like I said before, my priorities are with those around me. And if my friends, my family aren't doing good, nothing else matters. And it's funny because our interactions with those around us quite literally carry every aspect of our life. I mean, like I said, when I say life always works out for me, life always works out for me. My first day of school here, my sophomore year, I had slept through my first class, and I showed up to the class crying, was hysterically bawling. My books were on the floor because I only had my schedule written down in my planner. And I had needed to pull out my planner in order to see what classroom I was going to, because last year everything was online, so I didn't know where any of the classrooms were. And one of my best friends walks out of the class. He just sees me. My shirt was on the inside out backwards. I was in tears. I'm pretty sure I had on two different shoes. And he's just kind of like, what is going on? Like, what is he supposed to do with that? Like, I don't know. There's just a teenage girl sitting there hysterically bawling because she slept through one class. That's so embarrassing. Oh my God. But, and my professor for that class, I ended up getting to sit down and talk with him, and there was quite literally no issue whatsoever. He did not care. And I made it to my second class, on time, because my professor for my second class actually has the office right across from the one that I was hysterically crying in. And, that professor in particular was the one that helped me figure out what I wanted to do with my future. And I guess not what I don't know what I want to do with my future, but the double major, I have an internship. Like, he helped me at least lay a groundwork. But I gained more from cultivating good communication and relationships with everyone around me than I have by passing a test or by spending my time studying. I mean, this week I have so much work, and last week my brother came down and visited, but I would not have had it any other way, because I love the kid with my entire heart. My brother is my best friend. My brother is just so incredibly like cool. And I'm like such like a little like loser. Like I like, oh my God. But like, I don't know how he ended up being related to me. I don't know what went wrong. I mean, actually no, something went wrong the first time, so they had to have him. He's my younger brother. But me having these relationships and support systems and taking my time and making sure that it's dedicated towards making sure that my friends are doing well, and making sure that I'm spending quality time with them, and making sure that I'm, whatever the cheese thing is, stop and smell the roses, make sure I'm stopping and smelling the roses, make sure that I'm actually having fun and taking in life and not getting caught up in the complexities of college. Because college, yeah, It's schoolwork, it's the degree, it's studying for hours on end, it's probably getting a caffeine addiction because you're having to stay up for a million hours and study. But college is also those late nights with your friends where you just go on a random adventure. That is my favorite thing on the entire planet. There's this little monument, or not even little, it's kind of like a half the size of the National Monument in DC. And it's probably about half a mile away from campus, and I call it Fred DC. And I love is an understatement, to drag my friends there late at night when we have nothing else better to do. We will go to cookout, we will go on drives, we'll do other stuff, but that is my favorite thing, because ultimately it is just a rock in the ground. Not that it's meaningless, but it's ultimately just a rock in the ground. But me knowing that it's just a rock in the ground and that it's just chilling there, it almost, the simplicity, this sounds so stupid. People are gonna listen to this and they're just be like, what is she talking about? But it's almost the simplicity of there just being a rock in the ground, and for it still being a place where I can go and make a memory and spend quality time with my friends and just feel a moment of peace, because you take a step out of the stress and the anxiety and the fast-paced schedule of life, is why I love it. It makes me feel great. I love it. I call it Fred DC. It's my favorite place on the face of the planet. And from having these solid relationships, I have the best friends on the face of the planet. I wish I don't wish I was kidding. I feel bad for everyone else, because I quite literally have the best friends on the entire face of the planet. I don't know how I got so lucky. And I think a large part of it is the beauty of how easy, I guess, it was to have a genuine and deep connection with all of my friends. Just having that authenticity between relationships and being able to sit down and just have a real conversation with people. And not that you don't get it as often, but college can be lonely. If you're not putting yourself out there, and if you just wanted to sit in your room all day by yourself, you quite literally could. And I don't want to say that these friendships are optional, but they are. They're completely optional. And I think knowing that if I didn't want to go hang out with these people, I didn't have to, yet still having just a very strong bond with them, and knowing that I would be there for them if at any time, any place, no matter what, and knowing they would do the same for me, is what makes them so important to me. Like, I love all of my friends with my entire heart. Being blessed with such good friends only makes me want to work with people even more in the future, and makes me want to, I guess, see the beauty in everyone around me. I love to document my moments with my friends. I love to just get the raw memory of it, and I love to watch it back. And recently I felt really burnt out. It ties back to the fact that I've been spending more time with them in person, off camera, because there's a balance that you have to walk with all of that. And that plays for, not even if you don't do YouTube, if you have your social media just in general, there's a line where, not that your friendship doesn't belong on the internet, but it almost becomes a form of entertainment and not a real relationship. And it's weird, because although I felt burnt out with my vlogs, it's not the same type of pain that you get when you're procrastinating your homework. Because when you're procrastinating your homework, you have this idea that, okay, like, that's fine, I don't want to do it anyways. But when you're procrastinating something that you love, it actually hurts. Because I love editing, and I love documenting, and I love rewatching videos of my friends laughing. I love seeing genuine joy across their face. And it just makes me so happy to see other people being happy and me being able to capture that moment. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want to go stalk my YouTube channel, or even if you're listening to this and you want to go stalk my YouTube channel, I haven't posted in probably about 2 months, maybe 3, I don't know. But I have this principle in my life that I'm not going to push myself when I'm burnt out of something that I love, because I don't want to end up hating it. Because last spring, I posted a vlog, I want to say at least once a week, maybe twice a week. And I loved doing it. I loved editing it. It was fun. But, and I miss creating, but I'm not necessarily inspired to create the vlogs. I'm inspired to create something different right now. And I don't know what that is, and I have to figure that out. But last year when I was on my roll of posting, my mental health was quite literally deteriorating. Deteriorating. And that goes for anything. When you're pushing yourself too hard for something, you need to take a step back. Because at some point you're going to hit a wall that you can't keep pushing by. And I just remember drowning all the time in my schoolwork, and I was crying, and I was just always stressed, and I wasn't sleeping. And I loved producing them, and I loved seeing how happy it made other people. But there's also a line where you have to make sure to put yourself first. Because although, yeah, like I said before, like I will do anything for my friends and my family, and I love them with my entire heart. But I also know that they love me with their entire heart, and they also want me to look out for myself. And then this goes back to literally everything. This umbrella's everything. Even like the decision on the double major, what you want to do with your future, or just simply hanging out with people, or wasting your energy in areas that you don't want to waste it, but you're doing it because someone else wants you to put it there. You are wasting your life. You are throwing it away if you're letting someone else make your decisions for you. Or even if you're letting them decide a general direction for you to go in, if that's not where you want to go. Because you can agree with someone. If they say, I think this will be best for you, and you say, you know what, it is best for me, great. But if you're letting someone else's input drive everything that you're doing, or not even everything, just something that you're doing, it's not your life anymore. And it's really important, especially in these years of your life. And honestly, any year of your life, but especially in these transitional ones, to make sure that you're making your decisions for yourself and not by the influence of other people. And yeah, I was drowning in my work last spring. And I was lucky enough that my vlogs and the content that I loved to produce creatively, I was able to turn in for homework. Because I would not want to touch any of my roommate's chemistry homework whatsoever. You could not. I don't know how she does it. And I don't want to know. I don't want to ever have to take chemistry in my life again. And I hope that I'm able to connect these 2 points right now clearly and articulately for those watching and those listening. But like I said earlier, I created pillars for my future. I created ideas. I don't have a job description. I want to be creative, and I want to work with people. And I think even if someone else's pillars end up being that they want to, I don't know, not spend a lot of time in the office, and they want to work online, and they want to, I don't know, be able to go home for lunch or something. Creating these qualities and things you value in your work and in your environment almost make it easier to avoid this burnout and everything, because you know what you value. Because it's okay if your mind changes and you decide you don't like something, and that you know what, you don't like it as much as you did. But if you know that you do, and you know that you still do, it's important to make sure that you don't start hating it. Because that's just stupid. Why would you drive yourself to hate something that you love? I don't know. And I've said that I don't know what I'm doing this entire podcast, and I probably honestly, I feel like I sound like I know what I'm doing. But I have no idea. I'm sitting here trying to convince not only myself, but like you, that I know what I'm doing. Like, it's stupid. All of this is stupid. I don't know. And I guess this is the perspective from a 19-year-old college girl, and maybe she's naive, and maybe she just doesn't know what's gonna happen to her, and the world's just gonna take her out. The world's just gonna whatever. But I would beg to differ. I would think that I would be able to put up a good fight. And I hope I can. And I hope that I look back on this in 20 years and I listen to myself talk and I think, you know what? You're right. None of it mattered. None of the stress mattered. I don't know much, but I at least hope that when this is all over, I'm judged by my qualities and not my job description. And not the things I did, but who I was. Because I want to make people feel loved and heard, and I want to inspire them to just be their best selves every day. I want to be known as someone who always showed up. Because I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know where I'm going. And it's terrifying, but I know who I am. And that should be the goal of this college experience. The goal to figure out who you are and what truly matters to you. That's the secret class that no one tells you that you're in. You're not in applied digital studies doing this. You're not in macro or micro or statistics. You're here to figure out who you are. The only thing is they trick you by telling you that you're here to figure out what you're gonna do. Because I know that knowing who I am is the key to knowing what I'm gonna do. That sounded pretty nice. That sounded pretty good in my opinion. I don't know about you guys, if you guys have been paying attention or not, but I feel like this has been a pretty successful first episode of Tripp's Take. It's taken me like 9 takes, but this is Tripp's Take and I would not expect anything less. So, to those of you listening, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode enough to listen to the next episode. To those of you watching, I hope you decide to stick around. If you want to go look at some of my other content on my YouTube, feel free, have at it. I am a big fan. I love it, obviously. So yeah, thanks, and goodbye, gangsters. Have a good one.